And for the Celtics, all I ask, for the love of everything green and sacred at the TD Garden, I'd like something a little more current than a 2008 championship banner. So any Celtics that might be watching Access TV at 4 in the morning, please win something a little more current than 2008. That's all I ask. Well, it's not exactly a banner, but you know what? I think this will do. The 2024 NBA champions, the Boston Celtics, for the first time in 16 years. Welcome to On the Sidelines. I'm John Luck with Brad McKinnon and Dominic Damiano. I did say I would have some Celtics gear with me, so we got this. We got the hats. Let's see here.
Oh boy!
Got the
glasses.
Got the glasses. I have one more thing. I'm going to sneak behind the set here.
You got a whole swag pack.
I'm going to break every rule on TV. Try not to trip on a wire, because that would be awesome. So when I say I came prepared for this,
Oh boy.
I came
He's got
prepared.
the bling.
Nice, you brought the bling.
I've hosted a sports TV talk show here on BTV in some form since 2011. So I'm going to actually celebrate this one the right way.
True.
Get ready for a fun show. So as I said, the Celtics are 18-time champions. Kind of weird doing a show like this. Defeating the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games. And guys, I said if there was a team that would blow a 3-0 series lead, it would be the Celtics. But here we are. They're champions.
That didn't happen. You were wrong about a few things too. You said that man wasn't going to be on the court, and who showed up?
We'll get to that
Standing
in a little
all in
bit.
front of him. But what a game, man. We finished it at home. Like I said during the last show, we didn't lose that game, so we could have won at home. But it was so great that they won in front of the Boston fans. It was needed for the city of Boston.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You look great, man.
Thank you. I don't know how long I can actually do this. It's kind of weird doing a show indoors with glasses. I don't know how you've done it for so long.
That's easy.
So, I mean, the Celtics basically had their way with the Dallas Mavericks this entire series. I'm just getting the numbers here so I can read with my sunglasses. But NBA Finals MVP Jaylen Brown, 21 points, 6 assists, 8 rebounds. Jason Tatum. We were kind of waiting for Tatum to have that moment where he'd come out and be that superstar that we thought he would be, and it finally happened in Game 5. 31 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds. Jason Tatum in Game 5 at least, he was finally that difference maker that the Celtics really needed to have.
I think all of us are waiting for Tatum to blow up and do a Larry Bird or be that standout player like James, and it didn't happen. But they have so much talent and so much depth. It was just so pleasant to watch to see this team progress. How many times have we talked about the maturity of this team?
Oh, yeah.
And they were more than they basically beat up on a 5 seed. I know I mentioned that before. It was fun to watch. Awesome.
It was great to see him show up in Game 5 because, like we said, it was all the other guys kind of carrying the show. I know he was getting assists and rebounds, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to points, it was good to see him break 30 versus that team. I mean, me and you at least, Tom, thought he was going to do, over 26 the whole series?
Yep.
And I mean, I was hoping for that 50-point game like he had that one time to bring the balance up, but I think we both were wrong with that over there.
Just thinking that loss, if he puts up 26, my prediction might have came through.
Well, I always thought Jason Tatum, he wasn't going to be the series leading scorer. I'm going to take these off because I can't see. I didn't think he was always going to be that series leading scorer. I thought he'd find different ways to affect the game, and we saw that, especially in Game 5. As I mentioned, the double-double with 11 assists. Someone like Jason Tatum in a stage like Game 5 of the NBA Finals, a lot of people would think that you try and take the game over yourself, try and force those shots to go. He was 11 of 24 from the field, but he realized early in this series that he was going to take on a double team. He was going to take on triple teams, and he would find a way to get the ball to a Holiday, a Horford, a Derek White, a Jaylen Brown.
Yep.
Jason Tatum's game is finally hitting that maximum point that I think we were all waiting for all those years.
Absolutely. And I don't think he gets enough credit now that we have a chance to dwell on this World Championship title run, where he did become that two-dimensional player like you talked about, not just a shooter, the playmaker, the passer, the defensive player. I mean, I don't know if we have total rebounds as far as defense go, but I remember he was there just the way he contributed, not just being the scorer, but the playmaker. and the assist, and all those assists he had. It was so much fun to, again, see that two-dimensional player.
So Tatum in the finals averaged 22 a game, just under 8 rebounds a game, and just over 7 assists per game. And in Game 5, Tatum had 7 defensive rebounds, 1 offensive rebound. And a lot of people at the start of the year thought Jason Tatum wasn't going to be that guy that goes inside the paint and forces, his way in. They always thought he'd stay behind that three-point line, kind of hide in the corner. But he crashed the boards when it counted, or when it mattered the most.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. And like we've just been talking, it was just great to see him with assists and rebounds because it was such a well-oiled machine. We had that one really bad game all year, and everyone counted us out,
Right.
I mean, you even said, who could blow a 3-0 lead,
So there's a reason for that. And
I want to hear it.
It was weird because I edited the last show after they won Banner 18. So I'm thinking, do I even really want to put this out? So I want credit for that first. I actually put the show out. But as a Celtics fan, I've watched this team since 2000, 2001. So I've seen ways that they can screw things up. I've watched this team through Banner 17. I watched this team during the great rebuild with Chris Humphries, Gerald Wallace wearing a Celtics jersey, Isaiah Thomas taking this team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we thought that they'd give the Cavaliers a series. They get blown out by 54 in the Garden.
Yeah.
So watching this team up until this season, I didn't think they would have what it took to actually get over that hump. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they proved me wrong, and I'll gladly say that. Obviously, here I am looking like an idiot wearing a Celtics chain.
You're not looking like an idiot. You're looking like a fan, brother.
Exactly.
I've watched this team for so many years find a way to collapse, and it just feels weird that they actually did what we thought they were going to do. And, I mean, it's just a weird feeling. Like, I was watching Game 5, and it just felt different that it didn't end with a collapse or a calamity.
Or a close game.
Major injuries, except for Kristaps Porzingis, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it was great watching the game as a fan and being happy at the end of the Celtics season.
No, it was great that it didn't go any farther than that. They ended it there. I mean, they waited a few days for the Heat for the parade, but they had a great time out there, too, with 1 million plus that went out there. And I mean, just be happy you're not a Bruins fan who has seen a 3-0 collapse, all right? Because that did happen to us. And it's been a rough road since, all right? We'll put it that way.
Well, we'll talk more about the Bruins coming up and the parade as well. But quickly here, was Jaylen Brown the right choice for MVP for the finals? There was talk about him or Drew Holiday. I don't think you could have had a wrong solution out of those two.
No, I don't think you could either. But if you think about who dominated when they got playing time, it was definitely Jaylen Brown. Don't get me wrong, Holiday, with his playoff experience, that kid, you watched him play, he was having fun. That kid was just out there having, doing what he needed to help out the team. But overall, as far as who stood out, it was Jaylen Brown.
I'll be the devil's advocate, as you always say. And I had 3. And 2 and 3 were very close, but I think 1 should have been 1. And number 3, I'll say, was Drew Holiday for me. But just off of looking at who had the most rebounds, assists, and even points during the whole series, was Jason Tatum. I mean, Brown showed up leadership-wise, too, so maybe that is another reason why he got it. But with me, it was either JT or JB. And I honestly leaned a little bit more towards JT, and especially with that last game performance.
Jaylen Brown was such a difference maker in this series, the last series, and really through this entire season. He swallowed his pride a little bit, and it's paid off in the biggest stage. Going off in the finals for 21 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, 5 assists per game. But what's not in that is how he guarded Luka Doncic, especially in Game 5. There was that Wired segment on ABC where he told Joe Mazzulla, if Luka's in, I'm in. Basically saying, I want Luka the entire time. And that was going back to the regular season when Jaylen Brown asked to guard Luka Doncic. So he's not afraid of the big moments. And I think this is a great way for Jaylen Brown to cap off a monumental season, considering how he began the season as the league's highest paid player, signing that Supermax contract. Next up, is this the start, dare I say it as a Celtics fan, is this the start of a dynasty?
I mean, when it comes to the Eastern Conference Finals, we're already in a dynasty, so what's one more round? You know, if if we can keep the team together how they are, I know, what was it, Brissett already took his option to go look somewhere else. I don't think a lot of guys are going to want to go anywhere else after a magical run like this. And I mean, you might see a little bit more friendly deals too with some of the players that are here that are going to need contracts in the future and all that. I know Tatum, you're going to give him a supermax, but you get what I'm saying. I do think they're going to want to keep the boys together because of just how much constant success the Celtics have had. Even if we didn't win it all, like I just said, we kind of are the Eastern Conference Final dynasty at least, you know. But anything's possible, as Kevin Durant would say, and it all starts. Yep. Who did I just say?
You
Durant?
said Kevin Durant.
I did. Kevin Garnett. I'm talking too fast for myself.
That was part of my
right
Celtics
now.
heartache. I was there in 2013.
Oh, yeah, but it could be a start of something great. It could be.
Yeah, I think you need to sign White. Their bench is legit. I think they proved it all the whole season to run the playoffs. You need one more big guy. You have one more legitimate big guy, you will be a dynasty.
I think this could be the start of a dynasty just from a CBA standpoint. You already have Jaylen Brown signed up long term. You have Drew Holiday signed long term. Odds are you're going to get Jason Tatum to sign long term. You look at what the other teams in the Eastern Conference have done, to your point. I mean, the day before we did this show, the Knicks traded for Mikal Bridges, and that's their biggest trade. So now they're trying to model themselves after the Celtics. Really, going forward in the Eastern Conference, you have to worry about, I feel like the Bucks are still a team you have to worry about with Giannis and Lillard.
100%.
Knicks, they modeled the Celtics, game plan now. Have 5 wings out there, just chuck up all the threes you can. Realistically, that's the biggest threat to the Boston Celtics. You look at the other side in the Western Conference, and all of a sudden that's turning into the Wild West. We don't know if Kevin Durant's going to be a member of the Phoenix Suns or maybe even the Houston Rockets if they pull off that blockbuster trade. What are the Lakers going to look like? The one constant that we have right now is the Boston Celtics are going to continue having 2 epic all-stars with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You also have Drew Holiday with that championship pedigree. And if you can get Derek White, maybe not even for a max contract, but call it 3 years, $90 million, I think that puts the Celtics in the driver's seat to be at the start of a dynasty. But the question is, how far is Wyc Grousbeck willing to go with that checkbook?
Well, that's exactly what it comes down to. Like when you started the CBA, it all comes down to how much money do you want to spend on this team? How much do you want to be considered a dynasty? And again, it comes down to the almighty checkbook. And the only thing, if I can touch on the Knicks for a second, all the Knicks are trying to get is that old Villanova squad together because they believe the chemistry, like what happened with the Celtics. But those guys can't touch so-and-so's, I ain't going to say it. But anyway, as far as Tatum and Brown and White and Holiday, those players aren't even close to the ability of those guys. They're good NBA players, but they're not even close.
All right, so we are still talking about the Celtics championship and looking at the monitor. I really need to get a tan on the arms. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the Celtics celebration. Over 1 million people came out to the parade. We'll talk about that. And also the Celtics getting out into the city at Dick's Sporting Goods and even at Raising Cane's. Welcome back to On the Sidelines. John Luck, Dominic Damiano, Brad McKinnon, still rocking the Celtics chain.
Yep.
Getting a little warm with it, though, so we'll see how long that lasts. But, Brad, you were at the parade this past Friday with more than 1 million people. I'm guessing probably 1.4 million. Just talk to us about the atmosphere at the parade.
It was wild. So when we went there, we came in through, Park Street. We got out right at the Common, and it was just flooded. And then somehow when we walked towards the start of the parade, there were less people there. But when you got close to the Garden, where we ended up staying because I had to get him a jersey for the parade, I brought my nephew, and there it was a swarm of people everywhere, climbing on anything they could, all that. And, I mean, we were in the pro shop long enough that we couldn't walk back down the street. It got that crowded. We were trapped where we were, you know. So little man got up on my shoulders for the 15 minutes that it went by. And,
Get a picture?
I have a video of it on my phone. I can definitely show you. But it was a good time, and it was overdue for the Celtics fans. I mean, Patriots and Red Sox, they've had enough for the past few decades, but just having one. As a Bruins fan, too, I can say the Bruins fans need another one of those days to get off all the steam of the failures that have happened and how close each team has gotten. And it was just great. It was a great atmosphere. I mean, they're playing Shipping Up to Boston, and when it goes, I'm shipping up to Boston, and then they cut the music for the whoa, everyone's going crazy. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
It was a great time.
I mean, looking back at Game 5, I just hope Celtics fans and sports fans take a minute to just realize how big of a moment it was, because the Boston Celtics are now the NBA's winningest franchise once again. They broke the tie with the Lakers. But when you have a championship moment like this, I mean, Boston's gone, 6 years without a championship?
It was 5, I
just,
saw.
Just kind of take a minute to remember where you were when you watched the game, who you're watching with, because those are kind of the stories that help out, you know, telling sports stories going forward in the future. Like, I'd imagine you and your nephew, that was a great experience that I'm sure you guys are going to remember for the next 5 or 6 decades at least.
Better, because my back still remembers it from last week. He's 120 pounds.
I got a little heavy, sorry. That's awesome.
Plus the bank account, too. How much was the jersey?
It was our city jersey for the folks that know. So.
Hey, there you go.
You're a good uncle.
So that was one part of the city connecting with the players. Another part was autograph signings and players getting out into the city. Al Horford working for a day at Raising Cane's in Boston. Hundreds of people stood out in blazing heat of 95, 100 degrees, and I can't imagine what the heat index was, but standing out there for hours. Then you had Horford at Dick's Sporting Goods along with Derek White and Drew Holiday. The Celtics, I think, are having a great connection with the city of Boston, and we've seen it for the better part now, about 3 or 4 months, really the height of just the fandom of the city.
Isn't it great that they reach out like that? I love that stuff. I love when they not just appreciate the ticket holders, but the fans.
Right.
Like you were talking, John, 1.4 million people come out there. You have a bad back because of it. But just to see them go out there, and you know there's always some type of advertising reason why they do that, but just to do it, because they could have said no. They could have said, no, we don't want to do it. We'll just talk to the season ticket holders, and when we have we'll do a couple interviews. They went out to the public and did all that. I think that's fantastic.
That's what it's all about. You know, they get paid all this money, win or lose, and to give back to the people, even if those people can't afford to get into the Garden and can just go to a Dick's or a Cane's. That's what it's all about. It really is. It's giving back. And that's what Boston... I mean, Brady wouldn't really give you an autograph, but these other people might give you an autograph if they see you.
Oh, that's because they'll allow twice as long for Brady.
Yeah.
You know.
And you can kind of hear it from the players, just what this reaction has been like. I mean, Al Horford wasn't expecting to see hundreds of people standing out for 6 or 7 hours at Cane's, or 7 or 8 hours in a storm at Dick's Sporting Goods. And Derek White's the same way. And you could see that at the Red Sox game, and we'll talk about the Red Sox later on in the show. But the Celtics threw out the ceremonial first pitch this past Monday night. Derek White really has been the focal point for this, Red Sox-Celtics partnership here. There was the image of him playing with a bobblehead. I think it was Jarren Duran's bobblehead. But there's just so much joy from Derek White and his dad at Fenway Park, high-fiving with fans and being out in the concourse. Really cool to see.
I mean, it was awesome, too. I saw after the parade, I believe it was Al Horford, too, and Derek White. When the parade was done, they were walking down the route, giving everyone high fives.
That's awesome.
Joe Mazzulla got out of his duck boat and walked down part of the parade route. We saw Kristaps...
Going crazy, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we saw Kristaps Porzingis on basically a broken ankle get out and high-five the fans. Really cool to see. And I want to talk about Kristaps Porzingis. We meant to do this in the first part of the show, but kind of bring down the mood a little bit. Porzingis playing through an injury in Game 5. It came out that he will need surgery to repair a torn retinaculum and dislocated posterior tibialis tendon. I always thought Kristaps Porzingis would play through an injury, but what he did in the NBA Finals is something that's going to be told for years.
Oh, well, but like we've talked about, he is made out of glass, and he wanted to go out there and just say, hey, this could be when we win. I need to step on this court. You know, he's been a player that's gotten close himself and should have been a champion by now, in my opinion, off his play, but he finally did it. And yeah, you don't want to hear about surgery, but it was probably going to happen no matter what.
You know, they keep on mentioning the red sock when Schilling had that. This is a lot more than a red. This thing was separated, correct? Was the tendon separated from the bone?
All I know is it's a torn retinaculum and dislocated posterior tibialis tendon. That's all I know.
He didn't get much time either, too. He was only in the first quarter, I think. He stepped out in the 5th game.
So I'll take a look here.
Yeah, but he still tore that. He had
16 minutes in Game 5.
Oh. He had
Game
more than I thought.
4, I don't have it here.
4 he didn't play, I don't think.
Game 4 he was out.
Right.
But still,
he played more than I thought. I'll be honest here.
You're playing with a torn ligament at the professional level.
I think his 2 field goals might have been in the first, and that might have been what it was with him.
But still, just to do that, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Like he said it to himself. I'll if I need to die, I'll go out there. You know.
Yeah, I love that. That was awesome.
I think he overrode the medical staff of the Celtics, and I think Joe Mazzulla kind of hinted at this.
Yeah.
That they said you probably shouldn't play, and he said it's Game 5. I have a chance to play. I'm going to play. Game 4, there was a chance he'd play. He was active, but only in special roles. If they won, obviously, if there was a tip-in potentially that could have the Mavericks win the game, or a tip-off at the end of the 4th quarter. I think those are the big 3. But I give Kristaps Porzingis all the credit in the world for sacrificing what he did. And you could tell a few weeks ago he was looking forward to playing for his home country in the Olympics. And he just threw all that away to help the city of Boston win an 18th championship. And I hope Celtics fans realize just how big of a commitment that is, because now Porzingis, we don't know if he's going to be ready for training camp. It could be a while before we see him again, but he truly put it all out there on the line, and we don't know long-term what this injury could look like.
It has to be one of the biggest commitments, playing with a torn ligament in a championship game, bypassing all the doctors, all the physical therapy, whatever, the trainers in the sideline. I want to play no matter what. Has to be the biggest unselfish thing I've seen in Boston sports in a long time.
I always talk about that next man up mentality on the show, but that's not what that was. That was let's win this goddamn thing. Tonight mentality.
Absolutely.
You know?
All right, so let's get a little more positive here. Let's talk about the parade. Ever since the Celtics have won the Larry O'Brien Trophy, there's been one constant. Jason Tatum has not let that thing go. Jason Tatum, I think, is physically attached to the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm kind of worried if it goes missing, we're going to know exactly who suspect number 1 is.
Well, it can't go missing because it is attached to his right hip, and Deuce is attached to his left, you know? Everywhere, the whole parade, he had the thing. I know back in 08, Paul Pierce had his MVP the whole time, but I do believe at one point it was passed around during the parades, and I mean, just walking into Fenway, did he pass it off? I don't think he did.
Just to throw the first pitch.
And then he probably ran right back over to it. And I mean, you deserve it, but I mean, you do. It's a team thing, you know. Derek White could have came out. He sacrificed his teeth.
Made the parquet.
Oh yeah, it was cool that game. My buddy who owns a sweet truck down the road, he had a sign and he got on Nesson saying how if you like sweets, Derek White, free donuts for life and all that. It was on Nesson really cool. On their social medias, MLB.com and stuff too, which was pretty funny. But I just lost my thought.
That's all right.
There. Talking about my friend's business.
Oh, talking about Tatum and holding on
Tatum,
the trophy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's way too much with him. It is.
Yeah, speaking of Deuce for a second, you want to make fun of me for, being wrong about the Celtics blowing a 3-0 series lead. Deuce tried to call that thing at the end of Game 3, I think it was. The Celtics had a film crew with them. After the game, he said, we almost lost.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
You know what? I think Deuce tried calling some
he said it in the funniest way, too, and Drew Holiday goes right up to him, just daps him up, and they're laughing. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Quickly
Absolutely.
here, you mentioned the '08 championship. We have a little bit of drama apparently with the '08 championship. Recently on the SiriusXM morning show, the starting lineup, Brian Scalabrine said his former championship teammate Kendrick Perkins was invited to join the 2008 Team Duck Parade, where he was asked if Perkins was invited. He said, no, 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 big scarlet letter. It's not really an open arms thing with Kendrick Perkins. Perkins was on Felger and Maz a couple days later saying, quote, right now I feel like Scal is a coward. Was I the only 2008 member missing from the Duck Boat? No, I wasn't. Eddie House, my guy, he was there. Leon Poe, great friend of mine as well, he was there. Scal was there and Paul was there. There was still 11 other guys missing. And to be honest with you, if I would have gotten an invite, which I didn't know we were supposed to, but anyways, 9 times out of 10, I would have turned it down. That's not our moment. That's 2024's moment. Let those guys have their moment. And I think it was earlier this season, Perkins kind of went after Joe Mazzulla, saying that you could basically switch his brain out with a bird's brain and coach his team. Just the overall drama of 2008, they're attacking each other right now, it sounds like.
Yeah, it really does. But kudos to Perkins for clearing that up. I didn't like what he said about the head coach. That was totally uncalled for. I don't know if he was caught up in the moment or what led to that, because we don't know what happened behind the scenes. But as far as clearing it up, maybe the guy didn't get an invite. Nobody really knows. He tried to clear it up. I mean, the guy's crazy busy with ESPN covering all different sports. Again, he didn't get the invite, he didn't go. Maybe some guy, I don't know, we don't know the whole deal, but as far as excuse my French, these are grown-ass men. They gotta, you gotta put the personal things beside and just worry about right now we won the World Championship. You didn't get the invite, you didn't get the invite. It is what it is. He said he didn't, we don't know if he's lying. Let's move on.
So for me, I'm just going to add this quickly. Scal, he's obviously a broadcaster for the team, so he should be on the boat.
Yeah.
Eddie House is as well. Paul Pierce, he basically is the unofficial owner of the Boston Celtics, so he should be on the boat. Leon Poe, I think he works for the Celtics. Kendrick Perkins, I appreciate what he said, but, I mean, he hasn't exactly been at a lot of these 2008 events, so just something to think about.
Yeah.
Something interesting because, you know what? When championship athletes tell each other, it's kind of interesting to watch. We have a lot more still to come. Don't forget, you can listen to us each and every Friday morning at...
Oh, that's my cue? WVBF, 15:30 a.m. and 99.7 FM.
And what time can you listen to us, Dom?
We'll go for 11 o'clock. That sounds like a good time, 11 to noon.
There you go. You can listen to 15:30 a.m., 99.7 FM. And if you're not around the area, you can download the TuneIn app. Just search WVBF. We have On the Sidelines Overtime coming up right after this. Welcome to On the Sidelines Overtime. John Luck with Brad McKinnon. I've gotten out of the Celtics jersey. Dominic's gone. So we were changing everything up here. But one thing we can't change is the fact that the Bruins goalie hug.
It's gone.
The Bruins goalie hug is gone, as we know it. Linus Ullmark, I'm sure you're aware by now, Jeremy Swayman's hug buddy, traded to Ottawa. A pretty significant trade. Taking a look at the full screen now, the Bruins the Bruins trading away Linus Ullmark, and the Bruins getting Joonas Korpisalo, Mark Kastelik, and Ottawa's first-round pick. Brad, you are our resident Bruins guy, so I'm going to turn to you. Just your overall thoughts on this pretty big trade for the Boston Bruins and their fans.
So it is a huge trade, but I mean, you did it a day early. For sure, because that night, the Edmonton Oilers, who need a goalie no matter what, and I'm not even going to talk about the Leon Draisaitl fantasy I have, because that probably was something that would never happen, but it's something everyone would love to see on their team. But you give away your goalie. I'll give the trade, before we talk about it, a C-. And that's just because we finally get a first-round draft pick that Sweeney's probably going to screw up because he's just like John Henry and he's kind of a jackass, all right? But I had to look up Mark Kastelik. I never heard of this dude before, and I mean, he's a center with 5 goals. I guess we forgot Matty Poitras was on he was injured all year, but I think he did that in about 5-7 games last year, maybe 12 games at most for a 20-year-old kid, with this dude being 25. Hopefully he can fit in because we need centers, but at the same time we need top-of-the-line centers. And I mean, out of this trade, I think we got $2 million towards the cap, you know? And I mean, if you were going to trade Olmark, it would have been nice, just bring up the Oilers. They have other players like Zach Hyman. They have all these good 2 and 3 guys that you could have got a decent return compared to a 5-goal scorer, you know? And all the Kings, they made a move quick. The Devils, they made a move quick too. So I get why Ottawa kind of wanted to push a trade, knowing that, hey, if Edmonton loses, they are going to want a new goalie. Because Skinner showed up, but that was the worst goalie in the playoffs, in my opinion, even worse than the Kings. But he showed up to bring him there. Like I said, a C- is probably where I'm going to be at. You only get saved $2 million. You get a goalie who's not known as the best, but neither was Linus Ullmark. But Ottawa also didn't have that good of a defense. I mean, they have Kachukian, I probably just said that wrong, which was rumored to be traded with Ullmark, be part of this deal, but he's kind of a turnover machine. Most of McAvoy and Lindholm have also had really bad years too when it comes to turnovers, but most of Ottawa's defenders aren't that good of a defensive core at all.
So I'm going to give the trade, again, not a hockey fan, basketball fan. My team won, so everything's great. But what I'll say is I would give this trade a B from this standpoint. One, Linus Ullmark probably wasn't going to re-sign here. He's in the last year of his 4-year, $20 million deal, I believe. So you're at least getting a goaltender back in Korpisalo. Last year, he was 21, 26, and 4, 3.27 goals against average. But last season was the first season of his career with more than 36 starts. So what am I saying? Jeremy Swayman, more likely than not, he's a restricted free agent. He's probably coming back to the Bruins. You probably just spent Allmark's money on Swayman.
He's getting $7 to $8 million for a long term, in my opinion, is
right.
What we're going to see.
So you're just looking for a backup goaltender at this point. And the Senators are already taking 25% of Korpisalo's money. Mm-hmm. So you're getting this guy at bargain basement money, and with a defense core like you have, led by, McAvoy, and you can kind of go down the list here. I'm just going to steal this roster here to kind of come up with
Carlo, Lindholm, Grzelcyk will probably be gone. More than likely, he is gone. Honestly,
you have Andrew Peeke.
Yeah,
I mean, there's good defenders right in front of the goalie here. So you're asking Korpisalo to maybe make, call it 25 starts, maybe 27 starts, and out of those 27 starts, really you just need 13 or 14 wins. You just need someone that can spot Jeremy Swayman, because Swayman hasn't played a bunch in net. He split time with Linus Ullmark. You look at what he's done from regular season to regular season. 21-22, he had 39 starts. 23, he had 33 starts. And just last year, he had 43 starts. But we saw in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Swayman was able to be that guy. He was a starter for most of the postseason run that the Bruins had. And the Bruins are comfortable with him. This move to get Korpisalo, that's just basically someone to supplement what Swayman's doing in net. We look at Kastelik now. You mentioned the 5 goals. He also had 63 penalty minutes last season, 102 penalty minutes the year prior. He's a good fourth-line guy. Apparently, he's good on faceoffs. He's a very speedy player, which is something I think the fourth line needs. And
with John Beecher, we have that, though.
Right, you kind of need someone to be that guy that can just drop the gloves, say, you know what, forget the game. I'm just going to go in and go for the fight. If you can get those guys on the fourth line and have 2 or 3 of them, I think that makes a big difference, and you can maybe move one of them up to the third line and kind of play with that rotation a little bit. Mm-hmm. And as far as the draft pick goes, this team hasn't had a pick in the first 3 rounds in how long?
At least 3 years, I'd say. At least 3 years.
Yeah, so they needed something. And I think the 25th pick, that's not bad. With hockey, it feels like any pick you make in hockey, it's going to be at least 3 years before you even think about seeing them on an NHL ice surface.
Just the one thing I didn't like about the goalie too much was how long we're going to have him. We got right here. He's a free agent, 2028. You know, and
well, you can flip him too. That's the thing.
I
It's
know
a
we
backup
could.
goalie.
I know we could flip him, but when you had Brennan Bussey, basically the best goalie in the AHL down in Providence, you could have possibly said, "Hey, retain more of his money for him." What's his name, Mark, and then you just use Brennan Bussey.
It's more like
it's just a $3 million thing. When this is going to be July 1st or Monday, whenever free agency starts, this is going to be the biggest, probably free agency amount of money we've had in a while, and what is going to happen to the future of the Boston Bruins. It's huge. There's a few centers that are up that we really need to look at, and I mean, we'll say Swayman gets the most. He gets $8 million. So we'll have $15 million to get two very good. One needs to be a left winger and one needs to be a center. That's what we need to do with those $15 million. And hopefully maybe you can find two not mediocre, but second line left wings, you put them wherever you want, and then one starting center. Because I love Charlie Coyle, the Weymouth kid, and Zaki. He's great with pasta, but those aren't going to bring you far, as we found out in the playoffs as your number one centers. I mean, both those guys, and Jake DeBrusk, loved hitting the post the whole postseason, and we need some more sharpshooters up top, especially in the center, people that can play the bumper like Bergeron did on the power play. But we will see. Like I said, this Monday, hopefully we're going to at least see Elias Lindholm, a Boston Bruin, and Swayman get a nice contract too.
It's also more likely than not, we're worrying about nothing, and Korpisalo could be traded for a draft pick in this weekend's draft.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of time to go in this offseason. But Allmark did release a statement on Instagram to Bruins fans saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you to all the wonderful teammates, coaches, trainers, workers, chefs, management, the bowl gang, and most of all, you Bruins fans. The memories I've accumulated during my stay in Boston are too many to count, and I will always cherish the friendships and bonds you've helped create. You guys will always have a special place in my heart and in my family's heart. A couple of highlights. Hearing Sweet Caroline being sung by all the fans during the Winter Classic at Fenway, Bergie's 1,000th point and Marshy's 1,000th game, Pasta hitting 60 goals, the Bruins choking away a 3-1 series. Oh, sorry, that was my little addendum there. Getting back to the actual post. Christmas toy shopping for Children's Hospital, Halloween dress-up combined with hospital visits, Swainta, celebrating 100 years of Bruins hockey, onwards toward new adventures in hockey and in life." So Linus Allmark no longer a member of the Boston Bruins. And the team that the Bruins did lose to, the Florida Panthers, they are your new Stanley Cup champions. Brad McKinnon, how you feeling about that?
Hey, they did it, and I mean, they have a tough future starting on Monday because a lot of Sam Reinhart, the one who got the game-winning goal in Game 7, is a free agent, and I mean, he's going to take up a lot of cap space wherever he goes. I mean, his goal was weak. Florida probably still would have won that game. Skinner led up a very weak game-winning goal to lose the cup, but Sam Reinhart's a great player. I think he had 39 power play goals during the regular season. He had 57 during the regular season, I believe. He might have even had 59. I think it was 57, though. I don't have stats in front of me, but Tarasenko, the list goes on for Florida, and I mean, it's a newer team. 1993-94 they came in, and Florida's been going crazy with Tampa Bay, obviously. I know I forgot that in the game we played, but I don't know how. They deserve it. They do. And no one deserved it more on that team than Paul Maurice. You see the video of him just when he gets the cup the first time. He lifts it up. He looks like this. His eyes are just closed. You can tell he's in heaven. And he's a great coach. He tells you how it is. He's a coach you want no matter what. And I mean, you can hate Matthew Tkachuk, but you only hate him because you don't have him. He is a Brad Marchand, and most of his family did grow up in Boston. My friend works with his aunts and his grandmothers at the dock up in, I don't think it's Dorchester, but the Boston shipyard. He works with the grandmother and all that. I know they're from St. Louis, but it is great to know that a great hockey player, whose father was a great hockey player too, and his brother is a great hockey player. One of the three finally have lifted the cup.
Nothing beats a hometown cup celebration and seeing the home fans just cheer and make that place rumble. Awesome to see, regardless of the sport. So congrats to the Florida Panthers. I'm sure Bruins fans are more than happy to say that. But anyways, coming up, we're going to talk about the Boston Red Sox, as apparently the Red Sox are good. And we'll also rank the top 3 most dominant Boston championship runs, all that and more coming up after the break.
If I never get back, let me root for the home.
Not sure if anyone actually knows this, but the Boston Red Sox are actually playing, and you know what? The Boston Red Sox aren't too bad. Coming up on the halfway point of the 2024 season, the Red Sox are 43-37 as of June 26th, and in the 3rd wild card spot. So if the season ended when we're recording this, the Boston Red Sox would be in the playoffs. 14-8 through June 25th for the month. What do you make of the Boston Red Sox and apparently this newfound success they've had?
It's a surprise. I think it's a surprise for all the Red Sox fans, too. I mean, the pitching's been doing better. It still could use some work, but you got some great outfield plays happening right now. You had Duran stealing that home run. I mean, that dude, I know we're going to talk about him in a minute, but he's making a name for himself for sure, too. And, I mean, it is good to see the Red Sox doing better than we all expected. I mean, earlier, a few episodes ago, we did the over-under, and what was it, 77 games? 77
Oh, yeah, I hit that under.
I think we're going over.
All right. I don't think we're going over, and here's why. So I went back to the beginning of the month, and the Red Sox split a 4-game series against the Tigers. Great. They won 2 out of 4, whatever. The Tigers are 4th in the AL Central. They also split a 4-game series against the White Sox. The White Sox are among the Major League's worst teams. They swept a 3-game series against the Blue Jays, the worst team in the AL East. They won 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati. The Reds, 4th in the NL Central. Now, they have played good baseball. They did win 2 out of 3 against the Phillies and 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, both first in those respective East divisions. I've seen this in the past from a lot of different teams, small market teams. They have such a great first 2 parts of the season, 2/3 of the season. Then you get into the dog days of summer, late July, early August, you come up on the trade deadline, and things just fall flat. I think that's exactly what this team is going to do. They put too much pressure on the bullpen. Zach Kelly came out in a bases-loaded situation against the Yankees and didn't allow a run to cross the plate. You can't replicate that too many more times. Brian Bayo went out against the Blue Jays on Tuesday night and got shelled. Thank God for Josh Winkowski going out there and throwing 6 innings, at least just eating innings for the bullpen. And we've seen this in the past with Alex Cora. He likes to play matchup baseball, using the bullpen in different ways. You have the opener, you have bullpen days, but you can't do that too many times because you're going to burn these arms out. You're going to get to the trade deadline, and you're going to have the same bullpen.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a lot to be made from this. The Red Sox had a great month. Awesome. They had a mediocre April, a mediocre May. They've had a mediocre few seasons, but still, I feel like people are putting a little too much pressure or too much into this month of baseball.
Yeah, which I do understand that, especially when you just brought up all the series from before in the past months when we were losing to horrible teams. But let's just pretend that it's 2002 and Jaylen Brown just tweeted what did he say? The momentum is swinging or something like that. I forget.
The energy has shifted.
Yeah. Let's pretend that the cogs are going and it's a well-oiled machine right now and try to enjoy baseball a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's awful that they're winning.
Yeah.
But they're winning against the teams they should win against.
100%.
Looking at the rest of the schedule for the first half, they had 3 against the Padres, the second team in the NL West, 3 against the Marlins, the worst team in the East. They have 3 against the A's, the worst team in the AL West, and 3 against Kansas City, who you're also in a wild card race with. If you go out there and win the games that you're supposed to, that's going to help you out. But unfortunately, we're going to get to August and September. All those games against the Orioles, the Royals, as I mentioned, there's still 6 against them. Not to mention the NL teams that are chasing a championship. at some point the Red Sox are just going to be
fall
outmatched.
apart,
So it's great that you're winning all these games, but these are games you're supposed to win. A major market team like the Red Sox, you're supposed to sweep the Blue Jays. You're supposed to take 2 out of 3 against the Reds. But you're not supposed to split series with the White Sox, split series with the Tigers.
You want to know what else they're supposed to do?
What's that?
Pay their players, John Henry.
Exactly.
Keep your players, John Henry.
So when we get to the trade deadline, is moron John going to actually give the front office the cachet to go ahead and say, make a trade, make this team better? Because I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either. But I'm pointing on the table again, John Henry. If you're watching this, pay the players, get them over here.
I feel like we've broken the fourth wall too many times.
Yeah, especially talking about him.
Yeah.
We don't trust you, John.
Here's the thing with this team.
Trust this, John, more than you,
There
Henry.
you go. I know my baseball.
Yeah.
At some point, the Red Sox are going to trade a player like a Josh Winkowski because he can get the Red Sox draft picks. Dare I say they could trade a Jarren Duran. And Duran has had a great month of baseball, but Jarren Duran is just another guy compared to other outfielders in Major League Baseball. I have the All-Star votes here.
I mean, he's probably our best player, in my opinion, besides Devers. So how many All-Stars can be voted on a team? Probably not 2, so I don't see that. But he's had some really good plays. He's younger, too, I believe. What's he, 23?
Sounds right. But Duran this season, 288 average, 7 home runs, 37 RBI, but 20 stolen bases.
Oh, yeah.
His speed is the thing that's getting him so much notoriety.
Oh, yeah, did that pop up and then he came running down?
Right.
Most players aren't going to make that.
And he is a threat to steal bases and really do a lot of damage. He had that game-winning hit against the Blue Jays when the Celtics were at the game. Looking at the AL All-Star voting, Aaron Judge leading the way in terms of outfielders, followed by Juan Soto, both of the Yankees, Kyle Tucker of the Astros in third, Stephen Kwan of the Guardians in fourth, Anthony Santander of the Orioles in fifth, followed up by another O's player, Colton Cowser. Jarren Duran's not even on that list. Now, I think he'll get in, but mainly because each MLB team has to be represented on an all-star roster. Mm-hmm. So the only reason Jarren Duran is making an MLB all-star roster is because
The Sox
you need to.
one. Yeah.
So finally here, I want to talk about championship runs. The Boston Celtics, as I mentioned, your 2024 NBA champions. So let's talk about top 3 championship runs of Boston sports. This was something you said you actually spent a lot of time thinking about, and it's kind of weird that we as a city are able to do that.
Oh, 100%. We were spoiled the past few decades. We were. I'll always say that. But it was great to see that our teams were standing up, especially years like 2013 when the Red Sox won that. Boston strong. You get what I want to talk about there, but we're not going to. And, I mean, it was just awesome. I am going to put the 04 Red Sox as number 3. All right. I want to put them up higher, but be a little biased. Got to put my boys on there somewhere too, because I mean, that year was great, but probably going to put the 2011 Bruins as 2, just because you had 7 games versus your biggest rival. You sweep the team that reverse swept you the year before, and then you 7 games Tampa Bay Lightning. Ooh, a great series, right? That was one of the best series. And I mean, Nathan Krejci saw surpass to Nathan Horton for the game-winning goal, 1-0 to send us to the Cup. And then you play the Vancouver Canucks, who had all the stats, all the numbers, one of the best teams for a while. I mean, the Bruins, it's basically like pretending the Bruins went to the Stanley Cup last year.
Well, the hottest goalie, too, for Vancouver with Roberto Luongo.
And then you had the twin brothers, all that. I don't know if they were twins. I believe they were. But, then you had 7 games, and you started the series down 0-2. And you came 8-1 on one game. The next game, it was, I think, 6-3, but you have Marchand beating on the brothers. Tim Thomas basically lost us a game because he's shoving people off plays, and I am going to have that at 2. And, I mean, I saw one of your picks, and I'm not going to say it now, but it really does deserve to be up here, but I'm not going to say which one it was yet. Another thing that I wanted to talk, for number one, it's going to be the Patriots. There are three that I think should be up here. All right? The one that I'm going to pick for number one is Super Bowl 51, sorry. 55 was Brady, Chiefs, I'm pretty sure. But Super Bowl 51, when you come back down 28-3, you had a dominant postseason run that year, too.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be number one. When it comes to the Pats, though, I did think about putting in 36 and 38, aka 01 and 03. And 01 over 03 because you beat the Rams after Brady gets hurt 2 weeks before. Drew Bledsoe helps win versus Steelers. You had a pretty dominant run that year too, for sure. But just that Super Bowl when you're down 28-3, you're gonna see better Super Bowls than that, but you're probably never gonna see a better comeback than that, ever.
And you think about everything that it took for that comeback to happen. The ridiculous Edelman catch.
Dante Hightower's first ever strip sack.
Right. I mean, just so many small things going into that big play at the end of overtime. So for me, number three, I have the 0-1 Super Bowl. Just the way that first round game against the Raiders went. I mean, the tuck rule game and the snow and all that. Still a game we talk about to this day.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers, you mentioned, with Brady getting knocked out, Bledsoe coming in, and then the Super Bowl. My first wrong take, I remember, getting made fun of, was thinking the Rams would win that game.
You told us, your teacher there. The pencil or something, right?
Right, so if you haven't heard the story, my teacher took a Rams pencil right in front of me and the rest of the class, snapped it. So, kind of, you wonder why I am the way I am? Maybe that's it. Number two, I had the NBA championship run for the Boston Celtics in 2024.
16-3. See, that's the one that I saw when I said that does deserve to be up there, but at the same time, you have all these people say, oh, goofy run, this, that, everyone was hurt, but it doesn't matter. 16-3. It's basketball. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and people still are saying Jimmy Butler's a great player, even though if it weren't for Jason Tatum spraining his ankle, maybe the Celtics would have won that 7-game series last year.
2 seconds into the game.
I mean, this is up there with some of the greatest runs of all time. The 76ers with, I forget who, but it was the 4-4-4 method, but it turned out being a 4-4-5 method. The LA Lakers in 2001, I believe, they were 16-1. The Warriors were 16-1. The Celtics, they only lost 3 games this postseason. And number one, I have the 2018 World Series because much like the Celtics, the Red Sox didn't need a long 6 or 7 game series.
No, that was that a sweep or was that 5?
5.
5, yep, because it was at Fenway for the first time in a while.
It was 4-5-5 if I remember. And game 3, I think, in the Bronx was when Benintendi hit for the cycle, but I could be wrong. But still, just sheer domination.
And I mean, come on, the cop. That picture's from that year too,
Yeah, 2013, that was Officer Horrigan.
Oh, that was 13, not 18, you're right.
Yeah, 2018 involved a certain watch, potentially, if you listen to some people, but I digress here. We're talking about happy things. Celtics are champions. 2024 NBA champions. That's all that counts.
Another banner for the Garden, folks. Another banner. As if the Celtics didn't have enough of those banners compared to the Bruins 6.
Just cut down some of those President's Trophy banners. We'll throw.
There's only one President's Trophy. They sub them out, all right? We're not Carolina. We're not Winnipeg. We got a few President's Trophies. We put them on the same banner.
And a few Stanley Cups. Anyways,